My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you guys are listening to Destroyer 40. Our special guest tonight is lead singer and guitar player Rich Kosak from the band Mr. Speed, which is a great Kiss tribute band based out of Cleveland, Ohio. How are you doing tonight, Rich?
I'm doing well. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great, and once again, I'd like to thank you for being part of our Destroyer 40 special. And of course, as many people know, Rich, you're in this great Kiss tribute band down in Cleveland, Ohio. So I was wondering if we could start the interview off with you sharing with us how you first got into the music of Kiss.
Well, I actually first got into it by seeing the commercial for the Kiss radio on television when I was a kid.
Wow.
And when I saw that commercial and I saw the radio explode and I heard the music and saw all the imagery, I was really kind of taken by that. I didn't really know what was going on. And then a family moved onto my street, and they had a guy about my age, 12, 13 years old in that family. And it turns out, he and I became acquaintances. And one day I went over to his house, and he had the U.S. Tour 76 poster hanging on his bedroom door. So then when I saw that poster, I kind of put two and two together and thought, there's something going on here. What is it about this band? Who are they?
Yeah.
He told me what he knew. He had gone recently to see them in concert on the Alive 2 tour and had a bunch of souvenirs from the show, had some really great stories. So from then on, it was pretty much I needed to know anything and everything about this band.
Well, and now let me ask you, when you first saw that TV commercial for Kiss Radio, did you have to go out and get one?
No, honestly, I didn't even think like that. It was more or less, I didn't know that so merchandise at that point in their career.
Yeah.
And, I was more inclined to, I loved going to my local record store. I would go there and I would look at the magazines and flip through the records and things like that. So I really wasn't running to the mall. You have to remember back in 1977, 78, things weren't the way that they are today where everything was at your fingertips. So in order for a 12-year-old kid such as myself to get to the mall, I had to get one of my parents to drive.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it was just a completely different world back then. So today you can sit on your couch with your laptop and you can purchase something and have it sent to your house in 3 days, and you don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah. So
it was just a different animal back then, but it was something I wouldn't trade the experience for anything because it helped me to appreciate the things that I have today.
Yeah. You make the point about going to a record store back in the day. What's a record store? A lot of kids these days don't even know what we're talking about here. What's a record?
True.
And now let me ask you, when you first became a Kiss fan, how much did you becoming a fan have to do with the look and the image as well as the music?
Oh, it had everything to do with it. It was the imagery that pulled me in, and then when I heard the music surrounding it, it was so. They just seemed to go hand in hand with each other. Mm-hmm. And I was an equal member fan. Like, I didn't have a favorite member when I first got into Kiss.
Yeah.
I loved all four of the guys. I just loved the band. And every time I could see something on them, it took me into a whole new world. I just wanted to know more and more about it. So I'd see the booklet from Alive, and I'd see a photo in this magazine, and I'd see this album cover, and it was just, I just wanted to soak it all in. I just couldn't get enough of it. It was something I'd never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Kiss was always kind of like a hard rock Beatles in the sense. One thing, even though Gene and Paul were like the two main guys and wrote and sang most of the stuff, what I dug about the band is you didn't have one guy doing all the singing. Even time to time, like Peter would get a song or Ace would get a song eventually. But that's one thing I really always dug about the band, that they had the concept that they didn't have one star in the band; they had like four stars, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've heard people make that reference. They were like the hard rock Beatles or something like that. I knew nothing about the Beatles at that point.
No. Yeah. I mean,
we're learning about Kiss. It was like, okay, here's Kiss. Here's four guys, and what can I learn about each one of these guys? Why is this guy? Why does he have this design on his face, and why does this guy spit blood and fire? What's that all about?
Yeah.
So it was learning so much about them, and I kept all the other artists that I was into at that time completely separate, because I was also a big Peter Frampton fan.
Oh, wow.
I had been a Cat Stevens fan prior to, he was actually the first musician that I ever really got into. That taught me that there was melody and things in songs, and these songs that come out of my stereo speaker were they were catchy and things like that. I didn't know the first thing about how a song was constructed or anything. I just knew that it made me feel good. And Kiss just took that to a completely different level.
Yeah, you make a very good point there, because for the last 40 years, Kiss is constantly being trashed about they're not the world's greatest musicians, or they're not musically precise. But I think really why Kiss has lasted all these years is the songwriting. They have the songs. It's hard enough to have a career where you got 5 or 10 albums, but the fact that you're still going strong 40 years into your career and you're still able to write and create new music, I think that just shows what great songwriters these guys are.
I completely agree. Have you ever tried to write a song?
I've tried, and it takes a little bit of work.
Yeah, I try to come up with my own things, but I've been so focused on Mr. Speed for 22 years that I come up with some ideas every so often in my office playing my guitars, but trying to get this stuff to come out of me and trying to do something that I always feel as though I need to compete with what I've heard Kiss do. I don't really feel that that's healthy. I wish I could just do my own thing.
Yeah.
But maybe someday I'll get to the point where I can get my what's inside of Rich Kosak to come out of me, and I might even surprise myself with some of the things. I know I can come up with a tasty lick here and there, but coming up with songs like Shout It Out Loud and Detroit Rock City, those, I don't know if that's really in my bag of tricks.
Yeah, well, you'd be amazed, Rich. Being a part of a tribute scene yourself, I'm sure you've talked to fellow musicians on the tribute scene. I've interviewed several guys, and a lot of them, while they're doing the tribute thing, they also got like other bands they're in and stuff, doing their own original thing, and it's a great way. Like doing the tribute thing is also a great way for some guys, get their own original music out there too. Kind of having different acts going on at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's a good outlet for it, but again, I think that Mr. Speed stands apart from a lot of the other Kiss tribute bands simply because we really do pay particular attention to the music and the look of what we're doing. We're a tribute band. It's not, people don't come to our shows hoping to see our interpretation of what we think Kiss is. When I go to see Kiss, I want to see a Kiss show. I want to see what I've come to expect after seeing them 59 times.
Yeah.
And when people come to see us, I want to give them the closest representation within our financial means to what it is that they've come to expect from seeing Kiss in concert themselves. Now granted, we don't have the same budget that Kiss has, and we don't have the same resources available to us that Kiss does, but I think we do a pretty damn good job of it.
Yeah, just based alone, like going to your Facebook page and looking at you guys recently posted a new promo video up there, but it looks really like high tech pro stuff, and I think unless people mistakenly get on the Mr. Speed site, they might actually think they're actually on the Kiss site because it looks so much like Kiss. It looks so authentic. It looks so real. Now, earlier in the interview, you were stating when you first became a Kiss fan, you were kind of a fan of all 4 guys. You didn't really gravitate towards one particular member, but obviously you're playing the role of Paul Stanley these days. So I would say these days he's probably your favorite member. What made you gravitate more towards Paul?
Well, when they put the solo albums out in '78, I went to my local record store, and I convinced my dad to lend me the $8 that I needed to buy the record, because I can remember to this day it was $7.49.
Yeah.
To buy the solo album, and that store only had Paul's record and Peter's record.
Wow.
So I stood there looking at the two of them, thinking which one was I going to choose, and I felt like just looking at the imagery on Paul's cover that I related more to what I was looking at there than I did the cat makeup that Peter was wearing. So that's why I picked up Paul's album. So his was the first solo album that I bought.
Wow, interesting.
When I brought it home and listened to it, I was just blown away by the music on it. And so everything else after that needed to, stand up to the Paul solo album. And to this day, it's still my #1 Desert Island disc. It's from front to back. I can listen to it every song makes me feel good. It reminds me of things. I think Bob Kulick's guitar playing on it.
I was just going to ask you about that because I think that's another shining thing on that album. I think besides Paul's singing and all his talent, Bob Kulick really gets a chance to shine on that.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago we got to play an event down in Miami in advance of Kiss Cruise 3, and we actually had Bob come up and play 5 songs with us down there, and I got the chance to do, what did we play with him? We played, might have been Goodbye, we did with him, and I mean, for me, that was just, one of those bucket list moments.
Wow, I bet.
I got the chance to play a Paul Stanley song from his solo album with the guy who actually played lead guitar on the record. And, it was a really, really great moment for me. And, Bob and I still exchange texts every so often. And when he's around our band or we're doing events where we're in the same room together, he's very complimentary of us. And, it's cool to hang out with the guy and just, talk shop.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually encountered him a few times over the years, and I've always found him to be nothing but like a really friendly, down-to-earth guy.
Yeah, I really enjoy, being around him, and, I've always had a ton of respect for Bruce as well, and, when you think about, the fact that these guys never did wear the classic makeup or anything, but still they were part of these songs that, will always live on with us as Kiss fans, and, that's why people ask me all the time, do you have a favorite Kiss album, do you have a favorite era, is there a favorite, song that there's just not. I mean, I have phases with Kiss's music, and sometimes there'll be a makeup phase, and sometimes there'll be a non-makeup phase, and I take it all in stride, and I think all of it is great. And I always think, when I read interviews or hear these guys talk about, The Elder and Unmasked and things like that, at some point in their career, these songs were important to them. I don't know why they're not important now, or they talk so little of them. But at one point in their life, this music meant something to the guys in Kiss, so I think it's only fair that they give it a fair shake, and if the fans want to hear something from The Elder live, they should do it live. Yeah.
I mean that's why I loved it when the guys did the Low Unplugged tour back in '95, because you go see them on that tour, and people would shout things out, and they just, a lot of the stuff they just play kind of stuff they haven't played in years, just kind of try to see if they even knew how to play it, and it was a fun type of thing to see. And in LA here where I'm from, we got a chance to see Peter Criss come and get on stage with them, and he sang Hard Luck Woman with them. It was just a neat thing. I wish they would do more events like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes too, I sit and wish that instead of taking a Kiss tour out, that they would do something a little bit more personal for the fans, and maybe do another convention tour, and let the fans get up close and personal with them again, because we are a unique fan base, and I'm proud to be a member of it. And I think seeing these things that take us to other places and other worlds, and let us just feel free. It's something that they created that all of us are kind of living, in our own little way. And it's cool that you got to be a part of that thing in '95 when Peter come up. And joined them on stage. It was interesting when we went to LA a few years back and performed at the Whiskey for the World's Greatest Tribute Bands. We stayed at that same hotel, and I didn't even realize until we were 2 days into our trip there that we were staying at the hotel where that whole event took place. Wow,
yeah, that's amazing. Now, I'd like to get a little bit into talking a little bit about Destroyer now. Can you talk about what kind of influence did that album in particular have on you when you heard it for the first time?
Well, to be honest with you, that is my all-time favorite Kiss album. I've been asked that question lots of times, and I think simply because when I saw the commercial for the radio and I heard I heard Detroit Rock City coming out of the television, I had to find that song. And then when I realized that song was on Destroyer, I think that was one of the first Kiss albums that I ever got. And so it's really been the blueprint for everything for me. I just love the fantasy surrounding that record. I could not get enough of the Ken Kelly album cover.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that, because a few years back, going back 5 years now, on the 35th anniversary of Destroyer, Bob Ezrin put out kind of a remastered version, and they had different artwork, which was like I guess the original artwork that they were going to use, which was a black cover, not a and they called it Destroyer Resurrected or something like that, and it was a black cover instead of a blue cover. To me, it looked a lot more. I liked the black cover a lot better. It looked a little cooler to me, but apparently they went with the blue cover all those years ago in 1976 because the record company felt the black cover looked too violent or too vicious or something. Did you get a chance to check out that new remastered version when it came out like 5 years ago?
Of course, I purchased it, and I thought that they did a really great job with remastering the album, and you were able to hear different things in all the tracks that you couldn't hear on the original.
I think the drums, for one thing, were a little more bombastic and more in your face.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
I think there were guitar parts that were more enhanced, and as a guitar player in a KISS tribute band, that's always something that I'm looking to hear better, because I want to make sure that we're playing the parts the right way, because again, these guitar parts and all the musicianship within KISS, say it what you will, it's tough to do this stuff. If you've never been in a KISS tribute band, never played guitar, try doing it in a full costume and makeup, on platform shoes, and trying to be somebody else. It's definitely challenging. So the album itself, I think, just from front to back, is just classic, and I prefer the blue album cover. To be honest with you, I prefer the original one, just because that's what I came to know.
Of course, that makes sense.
That's what popped my KISS cherry, and so that's the cover. I'll never get sick of seeing the cover of Destroyer.
Now, with that being said, how do you feel like when they do stuff like that, put out an updated, remastered version of something? Again, like you're saying, there's fans that have the kind of perspective you do, which is, well, I don't know that they should go back and fix it up. That's how it was. They should just leave it as is. Do you share that opinion?
Well, no. I think if you have an opportunity to hear something a little bit more enhanced, why wouldn't you want to do that? I think if they kept the tracks true and they just enhanced all the different layers and channels of the recording, that's great. But if they're going back in and they're doctoring it up and playing new guitar parts and trying to pass it off as something that was originally recorded in 1976, well then I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
If they're enhancing the original recordings of the album and making it sound like it would in 2016, I'm all about that, because I just think that that whole process back then had to be so amazing, because now there's so many ways that you can fine-tune everything that you do, whereas back then, even though I'm not an expert on it, the recording process was completely different. And I imagine it was a lot harder back then to get something that sounded so good. So think about all these recordings that they did back then, and how amazing it must have been to be able to create that and then have it still stand up in 2016. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah,
and another thing, looking at Destroyer, I really think that Bob Ezrin was a secret ingredient here. He had a lot to do with the production, obviously, and the sound, being the producer, but he was even credited as a musician. I believe he played the piano on Beth. He's credited as a songwriter on every single tune on the album. So, I think he was a real key ingredient here.
I agree, and I think every good team deserves a good coach. So whether or not Bob Ezrin was this camp counselor to the band during that recording process, for good or bad, it seemed to work. And I don't think anybody associated with that, the band at that time, or us as fans, has an issue with the end result.
Oh, no. And it's kind of interesting because everybody knows now, before KISS, he did all those great Alice Cooper albums. And then the other thing people might forget is that he also produced Pink Floyd's, The Wall. And that's why if you compare like The Wall to Destroyer, you can kind of see the similarity in all the sound effects and everything.
Yeah, I think you can. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna put a noose around my neck. I'm not really a Pink Floyd fan.
No, but yeah.
I don't really. I know that he did produce The Wall, but I don't make comparisons between anything that he did with Floyd with what he did with KISS. And I'm not saying that in a good or bad way.
I hear you. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of their music.
I hear you.
I know he did the Alice Cooper stuff. He probably worked with a lot of other people too that right now they're not coming to my mind.
Yeah.
What he did do with Kiss, I feel he really pushed the band to be the best that they could at that particular time.
Well, see, I think it's I think it's interesting because Bob Ezrin, at that point, I think he really took Kiss to the next level with Destroyer for the simple fact. It's kind of interesting that Destroyer is booked in between Kiss Alive 1 and Love Gun. Now, if you look at those first 3 Kiss albums, they're great, raw, really rocking in your face albums, but they weren't selling at the time. Kiss didn't really start to break out in a big way until Alive. And so when they went in the studio, following that next album, they're like, we have to do something. This is a make it or break it time for us, and we got to really deliver something big here. And I think with Destroyer, the other thing is because if you look at the songs on that album, that's half the songs in the Kiss set list still to this day. And so it really shows you that they stepped up the songwriting, another notch on that album.
I completely agree. And I think, they as musicians were getting better. They as songwriters were getting better. They already had 3 studio albums and a live album under their belt. So, hopefully they were looking at it as a stage to get better all the way around. Now, regardless of whether, Ace was playing on all the tracks or Peter, was playing, the drums on Detroit Rock City or Couldn't Stay in Time, who knows? I wasn't in the studio with them. These are all things that I've heard and read. But, the band was getting better. They were pushing themselves, and the producers were pushing them. And, again, we're blessed with this, catalog of music. And Destroyer, for me, is, where that's just where everything started for me as a Kiss fan, and I'm grateful for that. I don't think I could have picked a better album to.
Totally. I totally agree with. I mean, it's one of the top Kiss albums of all time. That's one most Kiss fans cite right away. But now you bring up the fact, it's not really a rumor so much anymore. It's pretty well known fact that on both Beth and Sweet Pain, that's not Ace Frehley playing. That's a guy called named Dick Wagner, who was Alice Cooper's guitar player at the time. No surprise, Bob Ezrin brought him in. But knowing what we know now, does that even matter to you that if Ace didn't appear on 2 tracks, or do you even care?
No, I think, because obviously having a band of my own and knowing, sometimes with the recording process that, we've gone through, as minimal as it has been, we've, tried to do some of the Kiss tracks over the years, and if somebody isn't able to, do their part, correctly or proficiently, then, maybe somebody else is brought in to get it right so that it sounds the way it's supposed to sound. And I know for a fact that we did a track a couple of years ago, and, Joe, our lead guitar player, he played 98% of one of the solos, but there was 2% that he wasn't nailing, and he was frustrated by it. So I went in and overdubbed the couple of notes that he wasn't able to hit, and he's credited for playing the solo on the song. And you do, again, it's a team mentality, and if you stick together as a team, you can get the job done to the best of the band's ability.
It's what works best.
If somebody's not performing to their best ability, then somebody else in the team has to step up and help them out a little bit.
I like that. What's best for the team, so to speak, and and that's kind of interesting thing because I was listening to a recent interview Bob Kulick did with Eddie Trunk, and he was kind of talking about back in the day when nobody had any idea that he was playing on any of these Kiss recordings, and Eddie was asking, "Oh, Bob, how were you able to keep that so quiet?" And he was like, and it shows the guy's integrity because he was like, "Well, you got to understand, Eddie," he says, I was helping my friends out. He goes, I didn't care about none of that at the time. He goes, it wasn't about that for me. And a lot of guys, wouldn't have been able to keep that quiet. They would have said, oh, no, I did all these Kiss recordings. But the fact that he was able to keep all that stuff quiet just shows the guy's integrity to me.
Well, yeah, think about it. When you were a kid and we were listening to Side 4 of Alive 2, you didn't know that.
No.
You were thinking, oh, my God, that's Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
And furthermore, any of the other tracks where, if Dick Wagner played the solo on Sweet Pain, or, Anton Fig was playing the drums on something on Dynasty. I mean, you just thought it was Peter. It's like the same thing when The Elder came out. I didn't care that it wasn't as heavy as the album before it. I was just glad that we had new Kiss. It was just Kiss to me. I wasn't sitting there analyzing it, going, "Oh my God, I'm not going to listen to this. This is garbage."
Yeah.
Furthermore, to the point back to Destroyer, you had the fans that heard Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, and then they heard Alive, and then they get Destroyer, and they're like, "Oh my God, what is this garbage?" I mean, are you kidding me? If I had the common sense back then, or was old enough to realize that Kiss had a new album out at that point, it wouldn't have mattered to me that album didn't sound like the first three.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was a brand new Kiss record, and I was just happy that there was a new Kiss record.
It's funny you say that because in doing research for this, that's one thing I came across was I read several things where it says when the album first came out, initially a lot of fans were against it for the simple fact that they thought Destroyer was so polished and so commercial sounding, so radio friendly. But again, to me, what's wrong with that? Your favorite band gets their songs played on the radio finally? Hey, why is that a bad thing? They're great sounding songs. Now, further to that point, I got to ask you, what's your opinion on Beth? Because again, that was another controversy at the time. Oh wow, Kiss putting out a ballad. They never did anything like that before. I mean, where do you stand with that song?
Well, okay, I have two answers to that question. As far as I'm concerned, if a song draws attention to a band, whether it's a good song or a bad song, but it draws attention, who cares? If it's going to get people to listen to the band, then I think it was worth it. If they felt as though this was something they all believed in, or they thought was a throwaway, or whatever the case is, that song made it on the album for a reason, and the band has benefited from it for 40 years. Yeah,
it's kind of funny too, because I was reading initially, Gene and Paul were so against that tune being on the album, and the main reason it wound up on the album was because of both Ezrin and Bill Aucoin, Kiss's manager at the time. They, I guess Ezrin really saw the potential in this song, but also if you read in Paul Stanley's book, he's like, well, yeah, Beth went on to become a huge hit, but it didn't become what it is until Bob Ezrin got his hands on it and did his magic. But it's kind of funny though that song though really helped the album take off for the simple fact initially Detroit Rock City was released as a single, but then some DJ somewhere flipped the record over and put Beth on, and Beth just took off on the radio, and then they ended up re-releasing Beth as a single and then putting Detroit Rock City on the B-side.
Well, again, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
At least in my world. So,
yeah.
Regardless of thankfully that DJ did that. Thankfully he flipped that record over and played the B-side, and the world got to hear this song that so it wasn't typical Kiss, but again.
Is that a bad thing?
somebody felt strongly enough about that to record it, go through all that process, put it onto the album, and then release it. Either as a B-side or an A-side, and the band has benefited, and so have the fans for so long. Now, the other part of that question is every time we take our show out as Mr. Speed and we show up someplace, one of the first questions that fans ask us when they see us is, are you guys going to do Beth? So, again, good or bad, that song is synonymous with Kiss, just like Rock and Roll All Night is synonymous with Kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the two songs that fans want to hear the most. And I always joke with them, I'm like, oh my God, Kiss has so many other great songs. Yes, we're going to do Beth. Yes, we're going to do Rock and Roll All Night. But we're also going to play 24 other really great songs. Hope you like at least one of those.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about a Kiss set. I mean, you really can't go wrong, even if you throw in a clunk of it. Not a lot of people, it doesn't get a great applause. There's not too many of those. I mean, you were bringing up Elder earlier, and the funny story about that for me is that's an album that was out of print for several years, and I remember when I was a kid, I had every other Kiss album. I was like, okay, that's the thing, before I die, I gotta get that album. I gotta have every single Kiss album. And then a few years down the line, they re-released it, and I got the album, and I'll be honest, it wasn't the greatest sounding album, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst sounding album. I just thought, oh, okay, this is this is something different, but they're not bad songs.
Yeah, I think different strokes for different folks, and when I was young and I was hearing Hotter Than Hell and I was listening to Strange Ways, when it came time for Ace's solo, I thought, oh my God, what's happening here? It just sounds like a bunch of noise. But then as you mature and you grow up and you come to appreciate music a lot more, you understand the emotion behind that solo and how strange the solo really was, and what was Ace actually going through, trying to put all that together to fit the song. It all made sense, but when you're young like that and you're impressionable, you don't think about things like that. You're just thinking about, does this music make you feel good? Does it make you tap your foot?
Yeah.
That's the bottom line for me. I don't care what the band looks like. If it sounds good, it's got a great melody, it's got a great hook, then it's all good. Yeah,
and it's kind of interesting you bring up the song "Strange Ways" because that's a pretty different sounding Kiss song, and it's one of the heavier ones, and it's kind of interesting when you find out that no, it wasn't Peter Criss, it was Ace Frehley that wrote that tune, and I understand because back in the day he didn't feel comfortable as in his ability to be a lead singer, so he would write these songs and let the other guys sing his song. But that's why if you get a chance to check out his new covers album, he does a version of Parasite and Cold Gin, which were both originally done by Gene as the vocal, and it's kind of interesting to hear him finally do a studio version of his own songs. Cold Gin is really, if you haven't heard it, he's really rocked it up, and it sounds great with him doing the singing.
Actually, I did pick up that album 2 weeks ago, and I did give it a listen to this past week, and I really enjoy it. I think, albeit they're covers, I think it's so much better than his last two solo efforts that he's put out. I really didn't get a lot out of them, and felt like he was just kind of putting some things out. But for the most part, Ace has been pretty consistent. He's had a couple of albums out in the past few years, and he's given us, the fans, something to listen to. But I think this Origins Volume 1 album, he put a lot more thought into it. There's a lot more emotion on the songs, and so I applaud him for putting this effort out. I think it's something I'm certainly not going to listen to just once. I guarantee you, the Gene Simmons Asshole album is one album I listened to one time and never listened to again.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. You bring up the point about Ace. I really love this covers album. I'm actually hoping we get a Origins too. But the interesting thing about Ace is he's always done a great job to me of when he does covers of really making them his own, really turn them into an Ace Frehley tune. I mean, to me, going all the way back to New York Groove. Nobody might know it was a cover at the time, but he really made it his own. New York City, that's where Ace is from. He made it about him. The Joker on his last album, originally done by Steve Miller, but he really made it, an Ace Frehley tune, which I think he's really been able to always do that when he picks covers.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think anytime somebody takes a song that maybe they were influenced by or they grew up listening to, and they've developed their own sound, they're able to put their own spin onto it, and it's cool that these guys can do these songs and make them sound, Ace Frehley-esque or what have you. But again, I think the new Ace album is really cool. I know he's just finished up his tour. I wasn't able to catch it, but I know some friends of mine saw a show or two, and they really thought it was great. And
just like I say earlier, like when I heard he was doing Street Fighting Man on this album, I thought, oh wow, okay, he did 2000 Man, back on Dynasty in 1979, and then before I even heard his take on this other Rolling Stones song, I thought, I could kind of envision him doing that. And then when I got the album this last week, and I checked out the whole album, I thought, wow, yeah, he really did a great spin of Street Fighting Man. So again, I agree with you, Rich. If people get a chance to check out the new covers album, it's really worth checking out. Now, I'm getting back to Destroy for a minute. I got to ask you, in regards to Beth, what did you think about the whole controversy about them having Eric Carr redo it?
Again, back in that day, I was still a pretty young guy, and I wasn't really too concerned
Yeah.
about the politics of it. Again, it was another greatest hits record, and I thought, okay, well, here's a different version of the song with another, the newer drummer singing the track. I never really got hung up in the politics of
I hear
that
you.
stuff. Now, I know when you're creating the music, it's something that comes from your soul and your heart. You have a completely different stand on it. I completely understand.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is
taking it personally.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is I kind of had the same attitude at the time when it came out. I thought, oh great, we're going to finally get a chance to, hear Eric Carr lay down a vocal on record, and I dug it for that reason alone. But I also thought it was pretty funny at the time. I even heard Eric doing interviews where he'd say, I really didn't want to. I was so worried Peter would be upset with me, and he said I even had to, call and make sure Peter was all right with it, which was kind of, a little bit funny.
Well, I think that just shows the respect and the reverence that Eric had for Peter, and I think, it shows, that Eric wanted to make sure that if, even though, he was given the permission to record the song, he wanted to make sure that the guy who originally was responsible for it, to whatever extent, and originally sang it, thought that, it was okay that he do it. I have nothing but respect for Eric. I had the chance to meet him twice, and he was everything that you've always heard about in interviews, where he thought about the fans and never said a cross word. He was nice to me, very kind to me the 2 times I met him, and I was grateful for those experiences.
And so just to cap up this portion about Destroyer, I wanted to ask you, Rich, so what was it like for you, being a Kiss fan all these years to ultimately, I guess you said Mr. Speed's been around for the last, is it 22 years you said?
Yes.
So you've been a part of this huge Kiss tribute band for the last 22 years. What's it been like for you going from being, a Kiss fan to actually getting a chance in this tribute band to perform some of these songs we've been talking about?
It's really, it's very humbling, Jason. It's something that I don't take very lightly, and I every time I'm able to put on the makeup and the costume and play these songs, I'm very appreciative of the fact that Paul and Gene and the guys in Kiss, they don't have a problem with us, because one thing that, as the leader of Mr. Speed, I take this very seriously. We really try to pay the most to Kiss. We don't consider this a joke. We don't wear Halloween costumes. We create our costumes by spending hard-earned money. We do a lot of research. This is something that we really, truly believe in. And we want to play for Kiss fans because we want fans to be able to celebrate, Kiss and their music with us. So that's really what it is. Every time we take our show out, it's a celebration of Kiss and their music. So for me to be able to play these songs and play them well and, be able to sing them well and harmonize and give them the most respect is very rewarding for us. We're actually, in 2 days, we're going to probably play in front of the biggest crowd we've ever played in front of in Detroit.
Wow. Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, we're going to be a part of the NBA playoffs at the Palace of Auburn Hills. We've been hired by the Detroit Pistons to be a part of the game time entertainment.
Now, I got to ask, how did that opportunity come up? I mean, obviously somebody from NBA approach you, but from what you've been told, did they just come across your website, or did somebody tell them about you guys?
No, we received an email from somebody associated with the Detroit Pistons.
Wow.
Who found our band, and they sent an email, and I discussed with them on the phone the opportunity. They told me what they were looking for, and it took 2 weeks it took basically 4 to 5 days of negotiating to finally get it to happen. Because we needed the NBA season to end and the NBA playoff schedule to be announced. And, the Pistons haven't been in the playoffs in 7 years. This is a very big deal.
Wow.
The love affair between Detroit and Kiss is very huge. So they reached out to us and said, we'd like to, if you guys are available, can you come up and play some Kiss songs for us? And I mean, this is something that I don't take lightly, and I'm going to make sure that my band has its A game ready to go.
Well, congratulations to you and the rest of the guys in the band. I mean, that's pretty serious business. I had no idea that you guys had that coming up. That's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't seek it out. It found us, And so I think apparently we're doing something right. And
Yeah.
again, that's the way I like to manage and lead my band, because every show could be our last. But, I hope that it's not, and I'm not ready to stop doing this, and I think we're just hitting our stride, and so we're looking forward to this experience on Friday night at the NBA playoff game.
Well, call me crazy, Rich, but we just made the point that you've been doing this for the last 22 years. Kiss has been doing it 40 years, so you're halfway there, So you never know. And I don't know of a lot of tribute bands that have been around 22 years. So again, my hat's off to you. But it seems like the last several years, things have been getting bigger and bigger and better for you guys. So much to the point, like you mentioned earlier. Last time I talked to you, you had just appeared on the world's greatest tribute band, which out here in Los Angeles, where I'm from, if people don't know, that's a pretty big. That's like the pinnacle for the tribute bands out here to get on that TV show. I mean, I understand thousands of bands compete each year and each season to try to just to get on the show, and so to even make it that far to get, to appear on this show, your tribute band has to draw a lot of attention. And this is a show we're talking about that many people may not realize. Ryan Seacrest, rather, from American Idol. He's one of the backers and the producers behind this show.
That's very true, as well as Mark Cuban, who is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
And the folks at Access TV were very great to us, and we were very humbled and appreciative to be a part of that whole thing. It's great to be an alumni of the program. I know they're in their sixth year, I believe, right now, on the close of the sixth season. And we were in season 3.
And one thing I love about that show is the fact that you get all kind of different tribute acts. What I mean by that is, as much of a hard rock and metal guy as I am, I mean, they've also had like a guy that did a Frank Sinatra tribute. They had one season. They had a guy that did like an Elvis tribute, a Stevie Wonder tribute. So there's a little something for everybody on this show, which I kind of dig.
Well, I don't think you want to just have hard rock and metal tribute bands, because there's so many
out there.
Good music out there. So much good music, and there's so many people that do a really great job. There's a guy there in LA named Kenny Metcalf who does a really great Elton John tribute. Yeah,
and it's interesting you bring Kenny up, because he actually is one of these guys that appeared on the show 2 different seasons, and the second time he appeared on the show with this guy that sadly recently passed away named Michael John, that also did a great Billy Joel tribute, and the two of them together, they had like this Elton and Billy show they put together, like 2 rock and dueling pianos, like something I'd never seen before.
Oh, I didn't realize that the guy who did the Billy Joel passed away, because I actually saw that performance, and so that's kind of some sad news to hear. But and actually what's really interesting about Kenny, just getting off the Kiss path here, is that he was the original keyboardist in Stryper.
Yes.
Really, really big Stryper fan, and so I've talked to Kenny on occasion about it, and he shared some stories with me, and I recently picked up a book off of eBay that was done by a guy. It was called Stryper Loud and Clear, and there's some photos of Kenny in there when he was still playing keyboards for the band. So, the whole Access thing was a very great experience for us, and we're proud to have been a part of it. A lot of great music associated with that.
And just to let you know, Rich, I do my homework here. As people may know, I've interviewed you once before, but another thing is, just a couple days ago, in preparing for tonight's interview, I went and checked out some clips of you and your band, Mr. Speed, online, and I came across this interview you did, and I'm going to tell a story, because I think people need to know how serious you take this in your role as playing Paul Stanley and everything, because I seen an interview with you and some of the guys in the band where you were telling the story about I think appearing at a Kiss convention or something, where you would purchase an autograph, I think photo of Ace Frehley or something, and you went and bought it for this kid that you knew that was a fan of Mr. Speed's. He was very sick with cancer or something, and you got to him like shortly before he passed away. But his mother reached out to you after his passing and told you how much that meant to her son.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. That's actually that's my favorite memory that I've had in the 22 years with my band. Was able to meet this guy, and he was from Pittsburgh, where I'm originally from, and he only came to see us play once. We did a club show, and he was only able to stay for the first set because he was he was just too tired and too sick,
Yeah.
so he left. I never saw him again. But I was able to go to the very first Kiss Expo we ever played was in Chicago.
Wow.
And we got to meet Ace because he was the guest. And all the guys in my band got things signed for themselves and got Ace's autograph. But I got this photo signed for John, from Ace. And when I presented it to him via his sister, once I had gotten back home, and after he passed, he had a wish. And his wish was that in his casket he wanted 3 different Kiss CDs and the photo signed by Ace that I got for him buried with him. And to me, that is just the highest compliment, because that's why I do the Kiss tribute thing, because I never know how crappy somebody's day is going to be. And if I can, get my band together and we can give it our all, we might just turn somebody's day around with our performance.
Yeah. It also shows you the power of music, the power, to bring people together. And the reason I brought that up is, after you shared the story in the clip that I saw, you also made the very good point, which you kind of touched on earlier about the way you lead the band and stuff. Because you're saying and telling the story that the point for bringing this up in the clip you said was that I never know if it's going to be the last Mr. Speed, gig that we do. I don't want to take anything, for granted. I take what I do very serious.
Well, yeah, because when I put that outfit on and that makeup and everything, I'm trying to be somebody else. They're not. People aren't coming to see Rich. They're coming to see Paul Stanley. So I have to be able to give everything that I've got, and I really feel like there's a part of me that is attached to Paul, and I see a lot of these other guys that portray Paul Stanley, and some of them are very muscular, and some of them are overweight, and some of them are this, or some of them are that. And, I think that, I fall right into that average personality or persona of who Paul really is, and I think that I have it in my heart to give it a really, really great attempt. I'm not trying to rewrite the book. I'm just trying to do what I feel whenever I hear him.
Well, it's kind of like you said, like I guess when you go to a Kiss show, you have certain expectations, and you're not claiming that you guys are Kiss, but for anybody who comes to Mr. Speed show, I'd imagine you want them to get their money's worth. You want them to leave a show telling their friends and coming back to the next show and giving them a rockin' night to remember. That's what it's all about. I mean, I go to several of these tribute shows, and the ones that are really good that I enjoy are the ones that really convince me that hey, these guys are as good as the actual band. I mean that's sometimes because like you're making the point earlier, there's half a dozen how many Kiss tribute bands are out there right now, but it's like anything, the cream rises to the top, and the fact that you guys appear on this national TV show, out here in LA, you're going to play the NBA finals. I mean, again, that's not every other Kiss tribute band. You guys are standing out. You guys are been doing it 2 years. So hopefully you're starting to make some noise, if you know what I mean. And that's obviously because people are taking notice of what you guys are doing.
Well, Jason, I think it's very true that we keep ourselves very grounded. At least as the leader of this band, I'm the oldest member of the band, at 52 years old. So I think I keep a little bit of maturity associated with it. And this isn't something that we've created. This isn't our band. We're Kiss fans that are trying to celebrate Kiss with other fans. And again, like I stated earlier, when Kiss decided to create Halloween costumes, they allowed every guy who ever thought he could be in a Kiss tribute band to be in a Kiss tribute band.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, as you stated, the cream rises to the top. And I think the bands that really have it in their hearts to do a tribute to Kiss, the fans can see those bands are for real. They can also see when someone is up there faking it or doesn't really give it the best effort. And I don't ever want to be one of those bands. So if the NBA knocks on my door, or Access TV knocks on my door, or the Hard Rock in Vegas knocks on my door, when Kiss was opening the Monster Mini Golf out there in Vegas, I'm going to open the door and I'm going to be polite, and I'm going to welcome them in, and we're going to we're going to give them the best hospitality that we can, and that's all I know. I don't want to be labeled as one of these other bands that just goes up there and goes through the motions, because for me it means way more than that.
And see, this is why I love talking to a guy like you, Rich, because I mean, we're two Kiss fans here talking. There's not a lot of bands that two fans could be talking for over almost an hour about. I mean, Kiss is one of these bands that's so over the top. I mean, you make a point about the costumes. I mean, I understand the idea how they got for the makeup was initially they all just as they were forming the band went to see Alice Cooper, and Paul Stanley kind of thought, instead of having one guy in the band dressed up, why don't we have all four guys in the band, get a makeup and come up with a costume and stuff. And again, I mean, how amazing these guys came with the concept. Hey, let's copyright the makeup designs. Let's let's create these characters. I mean, nobody before or since has really came up with that concept, and it's so over the top. The images, the the licensing, all the merchandise. It's so over the top. It's like the circus is coming to town, if you know what I mean. And again, even the characters. I mean, I kind of agree with this thing about Tommy and Eric wearing the makeup. When people think of Kiss, as much as you may not want to believe it, they think of a demon, the cat, a star child, and a spaceman.
Agreed. And it's interesting you kind of danced around this one point. There isn't a Kiss fan on the planet that if they played guitar or drums and were offered the opportunity to be Ace or Peter in Kiss would turn it down. There's not a fan on the face of the planet. So those fans that have a problem with Tommy and Eric being in the band, just go pound salt.
Yeah, I mean, if
you were able to do that, you do it.
Of course. Just like I hear all these people criticize them for mass merchandising. You mean to tell me that if you're in a band and your band had the opportunity to come up with that kind of merchandising and do that kind of bringing that kind of profits, you would say, oh no, man, we're not into selling out. We're not going to do that. The hell you wouldn't, And as far as Tommy and Eric wearing the makeup, the only way I would really have a problem with that is if they were like being two-faced about it. If they were making us think it was Peter and Ace, and then somehow it comes out that it's not really Ace and Peter, but they've been making you think all these years. But I think they've been honest about it, so you really can criticize them for what they're doing.
Okay, no, I will never criticize them for what they're doing, and I'll give you another example. If you go onto YouTube and you watch the acoustic show that they recently did before the LA Kiss home opener,
yeah.
If you watch some of the clips from that performance that are on YouTube, just look at how much Tommy and Eric are into that performance.
Yeah.
That'll tell you everything. And they're not wearing any costumes. They're not wearing any makeup. They're just up there loving the music. Okay? So that's what it's all about. If you love the music, whether you wear a costume or you don't wear a costume, just love the music and give it everything you got. And everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap this up before we go, Rich, other thing I want to talk about regarding your band, Mr. Speed, is I believe it was sometime last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys also took part in another special event where you were invited to Cadillac, Michigan, where Kiss was very big back in 1975. You want to talk a little bit about that event you guys were a part of?
Well, that event for us was just amazing. Over the years, I've become extremely close friends with Jim Neff, and Jim is the guy who was credited with writing the letter in 1975 to Kiss's management, which created that whole experience in the first place. Jim and I talk on a weekly basis. I've been to his home multiple times. I've been to Cadillac probably 7 or 8 times since I've met Jim. We've performed up there. We're the only Kiss tribute band since 1975 to perform in this exact same gymnasium that Kiss did in 1975 when they were there. We're the only Kiss tribute band to perform a sold-out show at Cadillac High School in the auditorium since 1975. So we have a real love affair with that city. I love Jim Neff to death. He's a great friend. He's got a huge heart for music and obviously for Kiss. He did something and believed in something way before a lot of other people believed in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So to be a part of that, Jason, was really crazy for us.
I bet.
We were part of the monument dedication. We were a part of that. We were a part of the press conference. We were a part of a pep assembly with the student body. We performed a concert there in the gym, for 2 hours for, just hundreds and hundreds of fans, and from all over the country. It was a really, really great experience. So, with Mr. Speed and Cadillac, it's just a love affair that's just going to continue to grow. And I just can't say enough good things about it. I'd never turn down an opportunity to go back there and perform for those people. They're crazy about Kiss.
And now let me ask you, because back in the day when Kiss performed there back in 1975, I've seen they've even got a part on Kisstory, the video, but I've seen clips and photos from back in the day where everybody that showed up besides the band, the students and the staff at the school back in 1975, they showed up in Kiss makeup. Was it the same type of feeling where everybody showed up wearing the makeup?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, there were some photos that we put on our website around that time, which was October of 2015. You can see some really cool imagery of the fans. I mean, they were offering the face painting there, which, they did back in the day. Back in the day, the student body did it themselves. Here in 2015, when we did the 40th anniversary, I believe there were face painters there that were, making it a lot easier for people to get into their favorite character. And it was interesting for us because we've become friends with some of the people who were, students back in the day. Cheerleaders that that are in these historic photos with Gene and Paul. We know these people personally now, and for us, that's very cool. That's bridging that gap.
That
have gone by.
I mean, just think about it, Rich. You're almost talking about time traveling 40 years ahead of time. That must be kind of a funny feeling for you and the guys in the band, that to be looking at these historical photos of these people that originally appeared at the original event, and then 40 years later, you're appearing in pictures with these same people. That's got to almost feel like you've time traveled.
Well, it really was. I mean, if you see the photo, everybody's seen the photos of Gene with the cheerleader.
Yeah.
And those are very, well documented. But there's also these photos of Paul with the cheerleader. And it was interesting for us when we were starting the parade the day before the show that we were on the back of a fire truck. They restored this old 1926 fire truck that we rode on the back of.
Wow.
And we were up there taking photos of people, and then all of a sudden, someone tugged on my costume, and I turned around, and here it was the cheerleader that posed with Paul back in 1975. Her name is Mary Porter.
Wow.
And I looked right at her, and I said, "Hey, you're that chick." And she was completely blown away by the fact that I even knew who she was.
Wow.
And Mary and I have become friends since our meeting in October. And, she actually made a copy of a photograph of her and Paul into an 8x10. She put it in a frame and signed it for me, and I've got it sitting here in my office as one of my souvenirs of that weekend. So
wow.
For me to just be a part of something like that, and to meet these people who were there and actually took part in that whole event, is really kind of surreal for me, and I'm very appreciative of the whole thing. I mean,
I bet.
Even to sit and flip through Jim Neff's notebook of the original letters and things,
wow.
souvenirs that he's gotten from the band over the years, is really amazing to be able to be a part of that.
See, that's how many other Kiss tribute bands can say they've gotten a similar experience? And the great thing about that is, if you stop and think about all this for a minute, Rich, you're able to accomplish all this just from your love of Kiss music, being a Kiss fan. You grow up and you form your own Kiss tribute band. You've been doing it 22 years, almost as long as, half of what the original band has been doing it for. But, you're and this is all really just from being a Kiss fan. How great is that?
It's really great, Jason. And I'm going to share a story with you real quick that Jim Neff has gone on record as stating. He's lived in the exact same house since he was a teacher at Cadillac High School.
Wow.
When Kiss came there in October of 75. In those 35, 40 years since that event, not one member of any Kiss tribute band in the entire world has ever contacted him to come to Cadillac and learn the story, share the experience, and be a part of what took place 40 years ago besides me.
Wow, wow.
And I'm very, very proud of my friendship with Jim and the relationship that my band has with the city of Cadillac, Michigan. And that's something that I don't take very lightly. I'm very proud of it, and Jim has gone on record as stating that I'm the only guy who's ever cared enough about Cadillac to come and be a part of it, and that's why we have the relationship that we have.
And let me ask, were you guys able to get any video footage of you guys at the event?
Oh my God, there's so much. There's all kind of video footage. I know they hired a professional video team to come in and document the weekend, because I understand that there were, Gene and Paul wanted to see video of it. They did one for the Cadillac Chamber of Commerce. They did one for another organization. So there was so much video being done that weekend. We've actually got some things. If you go back into the archives on MrSpeedOnline.com, you can see some of the things that we were sent that show video of that. They show us riding in the parade, show us at the pep assembly, show us in concert. It was such an amazing weekend, and we, the folks up there took such good care of us, and we met so many great people, and we still get emails from fans in Cadillac wondering when we're going to come back to Cadillac to play for them.
And let me ask you, Rich, have you ever toyed with the idea? Again, you might think this is a funny thing to ask me. We're just a little simple Kiss tribute band, but have you ever toyed with the idea of putting out like some kind of a DVD, which like a combination of like live footage and even maybe kind of where you guys have interview segments, or even telling stories like this, or having actual video, kind of like a documentary on history of Mr. Speed? I think that'd be because it's a great story, just what we've talked about today. I think people could really get into something like that.
Well, Jason, there's been a couple projects that have maybe gotten half a foot off the ground over the years, but then they've just, for one reason or another, they've fallen flat on their face. Yeah, wow. They just never see the light of day. But there is an individual that lives here in Ohio that has done some work for MTV.
Wow.
And he has reached out to me on occasion. He's interested in doing, this, such a documentary on my band, because I agree with you. I think that there's a real human interest story associated with tribute bands. Not necessarily just Mr. Speed, but, a tribute band of anyone. If somebody believes in it enough, I think that there's a story to tell, and I think that there's fans out there that would really enjoy seeing what it's like to be a part of a tribute band, and what these guys go through in their daily lives, and how they put the show together, and all the work that's involved. Because fans show up at the show and they only see the end result. They don't see the hours of time that goes into it. For me, being the leader of this band never sleeps. 24/7. It never shuts its eyes.
I mean, that's why we're making the point earlier. No matter if you're talking about a tribute band, original band, or whatever, it's like anything in life. The harder you work, hopefully the more rewards come your way, or more good things happen to you. It's I've always believed if you work hard, good things will hopefully come your way. And the fact you've been doing it 22 years, I think the cream is starting to rise to the top in your guys' case, and it's a good thing, because that's, I think I shared with you before, Rich, why I started interviewing guys like yourself playing the tribute bands. I've been to several tribute shows, and I enjoy it immensely, but there is this huge misconception out there about tribute bands where a lot of people believe, guys that play in tribute bands are failed musicians, they could never, make it doing their own original thing, but that's really not the point. I've seen that myself. I'm trying to been educating people, on that fact for, the last two years or so since I've been doing these interviews, but, that's the point is, even, especially a Mr. Speed show, this is more than just four guys, get up there and doing Kiss tunes. You guys go the extra mile making the costumes look authentic. You take the time, to put the makeup on and stuff. I think the Kiss guys made the point, as far as like why they put the makeup back on. I'd rather see Superman 2 than Clark Kent. So, it just goes to make that point,
Exactly, Jason. Again, with Mr. Speed, you get real dedication and real heart put into the band. I'm sitting here in my office in Cleveland, and I'm looking at my costume hanging around the room because I'm prepping it to go to Detroit in a couple of days. And, back in February, I flew out to Los Angeles and met with the bootmaker and had a custom pair of boots that cost me $2,000.
Wow, that's dedication, and that's love of what you do,
So, I challenge other KISS tribute bands that, wear the Halloween costumes and, get up there and do what they do. I mean, everybody has to start somewhere, and yeah, I've got 22 years of experience, and I've learned a couple of things along the way, but I also have this in my heart to be a part of it. And I really do believe that the fans can see through the bullshit.
Yeah.
And they know when someone is real and when someone is fake. So, what Mr. Speed puts on stage is really, the best effort that we can give within our financial means.
Yeah.
And we're playing the music to the best of our ability. Are we all virtuosos? No, we're not. We're not. I can't play like Yngwie or I can't play like Eddie Van Halen, but you know what? I can play like Paul.
And if I think if you could play like Yngwie, the KISS fans would want to go to a show. It's totally different type of music,
Yeah, it really is. It's not KISS. It's not. Again, people don't want to see something like that. They want to see a KISS show from what they remember, whether it was in their brother's room they saw a poster or they saw a magazine or they actually saw the band in concert. Mr. Speed tries to wrap all that up into one package and put it on stage. You're not going to come and see me doing Paul Stanley from 1975. I'm going to do Paul Stanley from 1974 through 2016.
There you go.
I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of all that whole career into what I do.
Oh, I love that. I love the fact that you guys don't just concentrate on just the classic era. That's great.
We wear the Love Gun costumes because we feel that that was KISS at its
prime.
At its pinnacle.
Yeah.
When KISS was everything, those were the costumes that they wore. So we wanted people when they saw our band to see, oh my God, yeah, I remember those costumes. I remember seeing KISS like that. We used to have everything synonymous with Rock and Roll Over because that's where we took our name from the song on the Rock and Roll Over album. But we still, live and breathe the name Mr. Speed, but we wear the Love Gun.
Yeah, well, if for no other reason than that, Rich, I gotta tell you, putting the name Mr. Speed out there because I've always been such a huge fan of that song. I never understood why it wasn't a bigger hit. It's one of the most underrated KISS songs, I feel.
Well, let me tell you this story, Jason. Again, I had the chance to meet KISS in Chicago on the farewell tour, and when I got the chance to do this, I was backstage. My wife had won a contest, and we were backstage meeting the band. And Tommy Thayer came out. He was the road manager at the time.
Uh-huh.
And he introduced me to Paul. And he said, Paul, this is Rich Kosak from the KISS tribute band Mr. Speed. And Paul looked me square in the eye, and he said, cool song to name your band after. And to this day, I'll never forget that because that's all the validation I needed. I could have called our band something more popular that was more recognizable.
Yeah.
But I was proud of the fact that I stuck to my guns and I called it something that I really believed in.
Well, that's cool. And now let me ask you, Rich. Doing this 22 years, of course, you're not pretending to be KISS. Everybody knows Mr. Speed's a great tribute band. But have you ever appeared at an event or anything, or have somebody come up to you after a show thinking you were Paul Stanley? Or, oh, come on, man. Hey, Paul, sign my autograph. Or, hey, man, come on. Yeah, you're Paul Stanley. Have you ever had anything like that happen?
No, not out of character.
Yeah.
When I'm dressed up like him, sure, people call me Paul all the time if they don't know my name. And one thing that we don't do, fans have asked us to sign, KISS albums, KISS this over the years, but we consider that to be very sacrilegious.
Yeah.
That's the one cardinal rule in Mr. Speed. We will not sign any KISS merchandise of any kind. We politely turn it down. We'll gladly give them a Mr. Speed photo or something with our name on it that we can put our signature to. But, people don't really mistake me for being him when I'm dressed as myself, but when I'm dressed up as him...
Well, that's what I mean. Like even, maybe after a gig, you're walking around the theater or something, somebody comes up, and maybe they have no idea the band's Mr. Speed. Maybe they see you looking like Paul Stanley, and they think, hey, it's Paul Stanley. Have you ever had anything?
Oh, sure, yeah. Sure. We get heckled and catcalled all the time whenever, especially when we're outside doing something. We're walking on the street, maybe walking from a hotel to a venue, or, going from point A to point B. People will say things like that maybe aren't aware of why we're there or who we are. Sure, that's happened, but, I think for the most part, people realize that we're not really them. I mean, it's funny. They're like, oh my God, fans will say to us, hey, I saw you guys in 1977. We'll look at them and go, okay, well, 1977, I was probably in my bedroom in Pittsburgh, getting ready to go outside and play basketball or something like that. I wasn't, in KISS, whatever arena you may have been at. But, so we take it as a compliment sometimes because people really do think at times that we remind them so much of KISS.
And that's a good thing, because that's the point. You're not trying to be KISS, but you're trying to remind them of KISS in its heyday, and that's what it's all about, the love of KISS.
Yeah, just taking them on a little roller coaster ride through their memory.
And let me ask you, getting back to Destroyer for a minute. Like you said, it's very hard to pick like what's your all-time favorite KISS album or KISS song. But is there one song in particular off the Destroyer album that you really are really close with?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to. I really like Flaming Youth, and I really like.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they did that for a short time. Back in the mid '70s when the album was out. Roosevelt Stadium, I think they did that. In Philadelphia, they did that. There's some video of that song.
Yeah, I always loved that song too, because I mean, just the whole attitude. Our parents think we're crazy. They hate the things we do. So.
Yeah, I mean, my parents fell into that category too.
Yeah.
I was no different.
Yeah.
Parents aren't supposed to
like what you do.
Rock and roll. It's supposed to be a little bit dangerous, but to be honest with you, from Destroyer, Shout It Out Loud was the first song that I think I heard all the way through from start to finish. I had heard the bits of Detroit Rock City from the commercial, as I stated earlier, but I think Shout It Out Loud is the song that really, for me, defines
that album. Wow, that's cool. Now, when you guys play the NBA Finals, I imagine being in Detroit, you're going to have to play Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, the organization has chosen the 3 songs. They're going to be Detroit Rock City, Rock and Roll Night, and Shout It Out Loud. And
are you guys going to get a chance to play like during the televised portion or like during the break?
We're actually playing one song between the first and second quarter. We're playing Rock and Roll All Night at halftime.
Wow.
We're playing Shout It Out Loud between the third and fourth quarter.
Okay, and the very last thing I wanted to ask you before we go, Rich, is how hard is it for you when you're on stage performing to be able to play the guitar parts as well as sing and lead?
It's not very difficult for me anymore.
But at one time it was.
A lot of the songs don't change from show to show or tour to tour for us. We do try to mix in a couple of the songs that are like the deeper tracks, the ones that maybe KISS doesn't play too often or has ever played, because that's always been Mr. Speed's thing. It's got to be fun for us. We can't just keep playing the same songs over and over again.
Yeah.
Kind of, improvisation or adding some new spice. But no, it's always challenging. And I'll be honest with you, I've got a very bad right knee.
Wow.
And getting up there in platform shoes and trying to pretend that my body doesn't hurt is a big enough challenge. But I've got 2 hours to give it my best, and when 2 hours are over, I'll worry about what hurts then.
Well, once again, folks, this has been Destroyer 40, and I want to thank our special guest tonight, Rich Kosak, the leader and founding member, guitar player, and lead singer from the band Mr. Speed, which is a great KISS tribute band, as we've been talking about throughout this latest edition of our Destroyer 40 special. And they're from Cleveland, Ohio. And once again, Rich, huge congratulations to you and your band on getting to play the NBA Finals in a few days. We look forward to seeing that. And I want to thank you so much for being part of our Destroyer 40 special. And if you had fun doing this, Rich, maybe in a month or so, I'd like to interview you again. Maybe since you're mentioning the Paul Stanley album, your all-time favorite album, we could talk about that and maybe what it was like to play the actual NBA Finals for you. So I look forward to doing that if you'd be interested. But thanks again for being a part of this.
I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for all the time, and thanks to all the fans who listen out there. And remember, you can catch up with all your news on Mr. Speed at MrSpeedOnline.com.
Okay, well, I'll be in touch, Rich. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. You have a nice evening.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Okay, bye-bye.